In an effort to inspire you to get outdoors and enjoy your camera, over the next few months I'm going to be setting new photographic challenges to complete. In this video, you'll see me head out to embrace the first challenge that I announced last week, to photograph water. If you want to see the world in a new light, this video is certainly not to be missed. Well, hello and welcome back to this very exciting challenge element that I currently have going on my YouTube channel. If you missed my last video, I said that over the next few months I'm going to be issuing challenges for you all to go out and complete, beginning with the theme of water. And today I'm out trying to do this challenge for myself. I've come down to this beautiful river here. And if you missed my last video and you want to get involved in this challenge for yourself, all you have to do is over the next few weeks go out and photograph water. And if you're on Instagram, you can use the hashtag Kim's Photo Challenge to share your images with me. And if you're not on Instagram, please feel free to email me your images. And in the middle of September, I'm going to be uploading a video where I showcase some of the most creative images that you guys have come up with. Now, I must stress, this is not a competition. Nobody is competing against anybody. There's no awards. This is purely a challenge to help you connect more deeply with the subject matters that we're going to be exploring, and for you to connect with your creativity, to inspire you to get out and about. And the images that get chosen for the September video aren't necessarily the best images, but they're images that are very inspiring, are very different, in the hope that it'll inspire you all to think a little bit differently about photography and the subjects that are open to us all, so that we can all learn from each other. It's a learning process, but also a process of inspiration and creativity. So with that in mind, let's get started and see what images I can come up with this morning on this beautiful river's edge. So I always used to think that working with water was a relatively easy thing to do. You can usually predict, when you take into consideration the weather and the light, the speed of the water, the way the light hits it. By literally taking a few minutes just to look at it, you can get an idea of how it's moving and you can come up with image ideas. But what I find when I come to somewhere like this is how fragile the water's surface is in relation to the weather. So, for instance, I was waiting a few minutes ago for the water to be really still. And when I first set up my camera, it was very still. And I was getting these beautiful, nice reflections. But then I was noticing that these white, foamy substances was beginning to float down the river here. And it was going through my image compositions, which was meaning that these nice crisp reflections that I was envisaging in my mind were difficult to capture. So as I'm waiting and waiting for them to pass to get that window of opportunity to take an image, and then the wind got up and the surface of the water became very full of motion, and all these ripples were like pulsating all through it. And that beautiful crisp reflection was completely gone. But it gave the water a completely new texture and a new feel to it, which created a completely different photographic opportunity. So I took a few images over the last few minutes, both of the water still and crisp with a nice reflection, and also when the ripples from the wind was coming through, to show you the different textures within the water in both of those moments, and just how quickly the conditions can change when you're working with something like this. It's a really interesting thing to take into consideration when doing a challenge like this. And it also shows that images come and go in a matter of seconds. And yeah, it's exciting just to be here and to witness that. It's a very mindful moment. whole process is proving to be a real challenge. So not only is the surface of the water changing so frequently, but also I'm in quite a dark area right now underneath this canopy of trees, which means there's not particularly that much light here, apart from in the areas that are open and the light is streaming through. But where I actually am is quite dark and dense, and as a result, I'm obviously needing to increase my shutter speed or put my ISO up higher in order to let enough light into the camera to allow me to take these images. Or of course open my aperture really wide, but that's going to have issues with the depth of field. But what I'm finding within these shots is, in some cases I am going as low as f5 to try and let more light into the camera so it doesn't affect my shutter speed too much. But the main thing I'm having to do for these images is really push my camera's ISO to its limits. So some of the images I'm taking at ISO 2500 purely to get enough light into the camera so that my shutter speed isn't too slow. Because even in the most calmest of moments within this little stream that runs into the river here, there is still this like flittering of the water and this motion. So you still have to have a pretty fast shutter speed in order to freeze that reflection. And of course, some images, it's fine to have a longer shutter speed because you want some of that motion to create the blurry artistic effect. But to get that crisp reflections, I'm really needing a fast shutter speed. So like I said, I'm having to push my camera's other settings to almost their limitations to try and create that. There's a very challenging style of photography that I'm currently doing today, but because it's meant to be creative and because it's meant to be a challenge, it's exciting. And by pushing my camera to its limitations, it is meaning that I may get some interesting results that I may not have got otherwise. So yeah, it's a bit of trial and error today. I think this is a reminder really about when you're teaching photography, why actually telling people what settings work good in each situation can be challenging, because it all depends on the light and what your subject matter is, how fast the water is moving, how much ripples there is, how much light is coming through this canopy. You've got to take all of that into consideration, and every image you take, you have to think about all of these things. So yeah, this is a really good reminder today actually of the different elements you've got to take into consideration when choosing your camera settings, and also the challenges that we come up against as photographers, which I know can be very difficult for beginners. But it's part of the process and it's fun and exciting. And for me, my photography style has always been about improvisation and experimentation. And yeah, today's really connecting me with that, which is lovely. Really, really lovely. Another thing I'm playing around with, which I think is proving to be quite interesting, and I've never done this before, is I've switched my camera onto manual focus, and what I'm doing is I'm focusing on the actual reflection, which is usually what I do, and then I was kind of unfocusing the camera, or the lens should I say, so that the surface of the water was becoming in focus rather than the reflection itself. And it was creating some really interesting, like a completely different style of image, because we were focusing more on the tiny little ripples and the motion of the water rather than the reflection itself. And just by switching the focus just that tiny bit to the different parts of the water, like, it's amazing how different the results were becoming, and it was giving it a much more abstract feel. So yeah, if you're out doing this water challenge, that might be something for you to try out as well, is just look at your focus. Are you focusing on the reflection itself? And that may create some amazing images because reflections are beautiful. But if you want to go down the more abstract route, it's quite interesting actually to shift your focus more to the surface of the water. And the thing is, you can't really do that on an automatic focusing because it will automatically keep trying to focus on the reflection itself. But when you're using manual focus, you've obviously got full control over where the image is in focus. And if you're focusing on the surface of the water, yeah, it's just another way of getting a different image. It just proves, I think, you can literally stand here for ages and look at the same spot of water, photographing it when it is still and crisp and clear, photographing it when the wind gets up and you've got that motion, photographing it with the different bits of foam that's coming down the river, and also by shifting your focus, getting a completely different perspective on the same image. So yeah, this is exciting and very creative, and what this challenge for me was all about doing. So yeah, it's nice this morning to reconnect with that creativity and try something a little bit different. And I never know until I get home whether I like the images or not. But the process of just being out here and connecting with the water I get almost such an intimate way by really looking at it and engaging with it. It's a beautiful process, very mindful, very relaxing, very creative, and in some ways, very healing. So one way to round off this video, and something that I'd never thought of doing before, but actually I just did this accidentally and I thought it was quite cool, is I'm leaning over the water and it's creating obviously a reflection of me with the tree canopy above me. And it's quite an abstract style shot, and I thought this would be quite a nice way to end the video, to take some almost like self-portrait images of me over the water. And you can see where I am just now, it's very shallow. So you've got the brown of my reflection and the trees above me reflecting on the water. And then underneath you've got that mixed with like the algae and everything that's growing underneath the water. And it's just creating a very abstract style image. Something very different, a different way of doing a selfie. But it's sticking with that abstract and unusual sort of theme. And yeah, it's showcasing the photographer taking an image. So yeah, I just thought it was a different way of engaging with this subject. And yeah, this is the results. Do you know, I really enjoyed this morning, just getting out and getting a different take on water. One thing I haven't done yet as part of this challenge is go to the coast. And I think that's partly because I spend so much time at the coast, and while it is my favourite place to be, I want to try and challenge myself a little bit more by getting into other locations. And I think given that autumn isn't too long away now, I want to try and reconnect with locations like this that I'll hopefully be spending quite a bit of time in when the autumn leaves begin to turn. And yeah, I think it's also just opening my eyes up more to this challenge, because it's challenging me more by being in environments that I'm not as comfortable in photographically. And I think that's something I want to inspire you all to do with this challenge, really, is to go out into locations and environments that maybe you're not used to photographing, that you're not maybe as comfortable capturing. And some of you have already said to me already in the comments and on Instagram and in emails that this challenge is inspiring you to get out there and do something different, which is what it's all about. Rather than going to your same haunts that you go to all the time, why not look for water somewhere a little bit different? Go for a bit of a drive, go for an adventure, or if you're somebody who does that a lot and doesn't photograph what's on your doorstep, is there puddles, rain, streams, a river, a beach near you that you can go out and embrace without having to travel too far as well? Just go to places that you wouldn't normally go to, because you'll be surprised by the images that you may manage to create. And in my last video, I took a photograph that I absolutely adored, this image here. And it was photographed on a very overcast, dull day when I wouldn't normally feel that inspired to do photography. But I got that image and I was really impressed with it. So it just shows you've got to be out there, embracing all weathers, all moods, all light conditions, and experimenting to get something a little bit different. And that's definitely what I've been doing here this morning, and I've loved it. And as I say, if you want to get involved with this challenge, then please do so. I didn't set an official date for it to be completed by, but let's say if all images can be submitted by Tuesday the 13th of September, and then I will plan to look through them all and upload the video of the most creative and inspiring images probably at the end of that week to share with you all. So yeah, 13th September, use the hashtag Kim's Photo Challenge on Instagram or email me your images. And like I say, it's not a competition. It's a personal challenge for you and a way of inspiring us all, no matter where we are in the world, to get out and embrace the creative art form of photography and express ourselves. Express ourselves. Creativity is such a powerful way to do that. As always, I want to say a huge thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all again next time.